Far away, beyond the stars that humans could see from Earth, there was a strange and beautiful planet. It was filled with glowing forests, towering mountains, and cities made of crystal and light. The creatures who lived there were nothing like humans. They had wings like dragons, eyes that glowed like stars, and voices that sounded like music. Among all these magnificent beings, one small figure stood out, not because of beauty or power, but because she was so very different. Her name was Lyra. She was a human girl, small and fragile compared to the giants around her. Her brown hair fell softly on her shoulders, and her eyes were the color of Earth's sky, calm and deep. She had arrived on this alien world with a human research mission, but when her crew returned home, she stayed behind. Something inside her had told her that she could not leave yet, that she had to find her place, even if the world did not seem ready to accept her. From the beginning, it was not easy. The aliens looked at her with curiosity and then with pity. "She is so small," they whispered. "She will never survive here." Lyra tried to mimic their gestures, their elegant ways of moving and speaking, even their melodic voices, but nothing worked. She still felt out of place. Still, she tried to smile. Still, she tried to fit in. She wandered the streets of the alien cities, watching creatures much taller than her walk confidently past. Alien children screamed and flew away when she tried to play. Adults ignored her completely. Even when she offered to help with simple tasks, they refused. "You are too weak," they said. "You cannot help." Each word hurt, but Lyra did not cry, not yet. At night, she climbed a small hill overlooking the city. She looked at the two moons hanging in the sky, their soft light reflecting off the glass towers. She held a small silver necklace tightly, a gift from her mother on Earth. It was the only piece of home she still had with her. Her voice trembled as she whispered to herself, "Maybe someday someone will see me, not as weak, but as I am." Days turned into weeks. Lyra faced rejection every hour, every day. Some days she wanted to give up. She wanted to hide in the shadows of the forest, where no one could see her, where no one could judge her. But deep inside, a tiny flame of hope burned. She remembered stories from Earth about humans who never gave up, no matter how impossible the challenges were. That fire told her to keep going, even if the world seemed against her. One evening, after another long day of being ignored, Lyra sat under a glowing tree in the forest outside the city. Its branches shimmered with tiny lights, like stars had fallen into its leaves. She sighed and hugged her knees. Tears threatened to fall, but she refused to let them. She whispered, "I will not let them decide who I am. I will find someone who will see me, someone who will choose me." Her words floated into the night, small but determined. She did not know who that someone would be or when they would come. She only knew that she could not give up. And so, under the twin moons and the alien stars, the small human girl began her journey. A journey that no alien could understand, a journey that would test her heart, her courage, and her spirit. She did not yet know that far away, across the skies, fate was already moving. That someone was coming, someone who would see her not as small, not as weak, but as something extraordinary. Lyra stood up and brushed the dirt from her clothes. She lifted her head, her eyes reflecting the moons above. For the first time in weeks, she felt something she hadn't felt since leaving Earth. Hope. A quiet, stubborn hope that refused to die, even in a world that had rejected her. This was only the beginning. The days after Lyra's quiet promise were not easier. In the bright alien cities, life moved fast and loud, and every step she took seemed to remind her of how small she was. She tried again to join the community, to be part of something bigger than herself. She approached alien children, hopping to play, hopping for friendship, but they screamed and flew away before she could even speak. Their laughter was sharp, like glass breaking, and it left cracks in her heart. She tried to learn their ways. She attended lessons where they taught music, art, and alien science. She repeated their complex songs, tried to mimic their graceful gestures, but the teachers shook their heads. "You do not belong here," they said softly but firmly. "You are not like us. You cannot understand." Lyra bowed her head and walked away, feeling the weight of every word pressed down on her. Lyra also searched for work, wanting to earn her place. She carried messages through glowing streets, cleaned alien gardens, and even tried simple construction jobs. But every time the answer was the same: "We cannot let someone so weak risk our work." Even the smallest tasks were to her. Every rejection made her question herself. She had always been told humans were clever, resourceful, and strong in ways others could not see. Yet here, among creatures taller, faster, and stronger, she felt invisible. One evening, after being rejected yet again, she wandered alone into the alien forest that stretched beyond the city. The trees glowed faintly, lighting her path with soft, warm light. Strange creatures peeked from behind the glowing ferns, watching her carefully. Lyra's feet dragged on the mossy ground, and her shoulders ached from carrying the invisible weight of everyone's judgment. She felt tears sting her eyes. Maybe they are right, she thought. Maybe I am too small, too weak, too human to belong here. She sat beneath a giant tree, its branches heavy with sparkling leaves that looked like droplets of light. Lyra pulled her knees close to her chest and buried her face in them. She felt lonely in a way she had never felt before, even on Earth. No one understood her struggles, no one noticed her pain, and no one cared about her small victories. And yet a small voice inside her refused to die. It whispered, "Do not give up. You have to keep trying, someone will see you." Lyra hugged her silver necklace tightly. Her mother had given it to her long ago, telling her that it was a reminder of strength, courage, and hope. That tiny piece of earth seemed heavier in her hand now, full of all the love and belief her mother had placed inside it. She whispered to the quiet forest, "I will not give up. Even if the whole world rejects me, I will find someone who sees me. I will find my place." The wind rustled the leaves above as if answering her promise. The forest seemed calm, almost alive with quiet understanding. Lyra felt her chest rise with a small spark of hope. She knew the journey ahead would be long and hard. She knew the world outside the forest would keep rejecting her. But she also knew that giving up was not an option. For the first time in weeks, she lifted her head. Her eyes reflected the glowing leaves and the distant city lights. Lyra whispered to herself, "I may be small, I may be human, but I will survive. I will prove that I am more than what they see." The stars above seemed to twinkle brighter that night. Maybe it was just her imagination, or maybe the universe itself was listening to her promise. She did not know what lay ahead or who she would meet, but deep inside she felt the tiniest, strongest flame of hope. And somewhere far across the stars, destiny was already watching. Someone would come, someone who would see her for what she truly was, not for what the aliens thought of her. And that someone would change everything. For now, though, Lyra remained alone in the quiet forest, but she was no longer broken. She had a secret strength no one could take away, the refusal to give up. The morning sun painted the alien city in shades of gold and orange, and Lyra walked through the streets, feeling the weight of loneliness heavier than ever. Every time she tried to speak to someone, they ignored her. Every time she tried to show her abilities, they laughed or shook their heads. Her heart ached, and her small hands trembled as she clutched her silver necklace, the only piece of home she had left. That day, as she wandered near the city's edge, she noticed a figure standing by the glowing towers. He was different, not like the aliens, not like anyone she had seen here before. He was human, tall, broad-shouldered, with a calm presence that seemed to fill the space around him. His eyes were a deep ocean blue, and when they met hers, Lyra felt something unfamiliar, curiosity that was kind, not mocking. "Are you lost?" he asked, his voice gentle but strong, carrying a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. Lyra froze. She had not heard a human voice for months, and suddenly there was one here speaking directly to her. I guess," she whispered, unsure if she could trust someone again. Humans back home had left her behind. They had chosen to return, leaving her alone. Could she believe this one? The man smiled, but not in a mocking way. "My name is Captain Ray," he said. "I'm an explorer here to study this world, and I think you might need some help." Lyra blinked, her heart skipping a beat. For the first time, someone did not see her as small or weak. Someone did not dismiss her. Someone, a human, chose to acknowledge her presence. Over the next few days, and Lyra explored the alien city together. He showed her how to use her small size as an advantage, slipping through narrow passages and observing details that others overlooked. He taught her basic self-defense techniques and ways to communicate clearly, not to mimic the aliens, but to show her unique strengths. Lyra felt a spark inside her, a light she had almost forgotten. She laughed again. She felt clever, capable, and most importantly, seen. He never once made her feel weak. Instead, he reminded her that being small was not a weakness, it could be a secret power. One evening, they stood on a balcony overlooking the city, watching the twin moons rise. Lyra held her necklace tightly, thinking about how lonely she had been, how rejected, how invisible, looked at her with a steady gaze. "You are not invisible," he said softly. "Not to me, not ever. You have courage, and that is more valuable than size or strength. Don't ever forget that." Lyra felt tears sting her eyes. No alien had ever said words like that to her. No one had believed in her when the world seemed against her. She whispered, barely audibly, "Thank you." "You don't need to thank me," replied. "I see you, that's enough." For the first time in months, Lyra felt a warmth spread through her chest, the warmth of hope, the kind that grows quietly but powerfully, the kind that refuses to be extinguished. She realized something important. It didn't matter if the aliens had rejected her, if the world had overlooked her. What mattered was that someone, finally, had chosen to see her as she truly was. That night, as Lyra sat beneath the glowing leaves of the alien forest near their city, she whispered to herself, maybe I do belong somewhere. Maybe it's not about them accepting me. Maybe it's about being seen by the right person." Sat beside her, not speaking, just being there. His presence was enough. And in that silence, Lyra felt the tiniest spark of something extraordinary, the possibility of a future where she was not alone, where her humanity was not a flaw but a strength. Somewhere far across the galaxy, Lyra's life had shifted. She was no longer only a small human girl, wandering among giants, rejected at every turn. She had someone who chose her, someone who believed in her. And that belief, that quiet, powerful faith in her would change everything. The city was buzzing with excitement. Today was the day of the great challenge, a contest held once every year to test strength, intelligence, and skill. It was a tradition of the aliens, meant to celebrate the best and among them. Humans had never participated, and everyone whispered that a human could never survive even the first round. Lyra stood at the edge of the arena, her small hands trembling. She looked up at the towering aliens around her, creatures with arms like tree trunks, legs like pillars, and wings that stretched wider than the largest building. They looked down at her and laughed. "She will never last a minute," one shouted. "Too small, too weak," another added. Lyra's stomach twisted, but she remembered words. "You are not too small. You are exactly who you need to be." She took a deep breath, feeling the silver necklace around her neck against her chest, a reminder of her courage and home. The contest began. The first challenge was agility. Aliens leapt across platforms high above the ground, balancing on beams and swinging from glowing vines. Lyra darted forward, moving quickly and lightly. Her small size allowed her to slip through narrow spaces that others could not reach. When the larger competitors struggled to balance, she passed them, her heart pounding but her focus sharp. Next came the intelligence test. The aliens faced puzzles of alien symbols, complex patterns that required both speed and insight. Many faltered, confused by the layers of logic. Lyra's mind, trained by months of studying alien language and patterns, worked fast. She solved the puzzles step by step, her fingers tracing the glowing shapes with precision. One by one, the competitors fell behind while she advanced steadily. Finally, the endurance trial awaited. The aliens had to climb the tallest wall in the arena, a structure so high it seemed impossible for a human to scale. The crowd gasped as they saw Lyra approach it. "She's too small, she will fall," someone shouted. Lyra hesitated. She looked at the smooth, towering wall and felt the familiar sting of doubt. She remembered all the times she had been rejected, all the times she had been told she was too weak. She felt tears well up, but she refused to let them fall. His voice echoed in her mind, calm and certain. "You are not too small. You are exactly who you need to be." With a deep breath, Lyra began to climb. She found tiny crevices and cracks that the larger aliens could not see. She pulled herself up slowly at first, then with growing confidence. Her muscles ached, her fingers bled from gripping the rough surface, but she did not stop. Step by step, she rose higher than anyone expected. The crowd grew silent, watching the small human defy what they thought was impossible. Aliens who had laughed at her began to whisper in disbelief. "She is remarkable." At the top, Lyra paused, her chest heaving, her heart racing. She looked down at the wall she had just climbed and then at the crowd below. A small smile touched her lips. She had done it. She had proved, at least to herself, that she was capable. When she descended carefully to the ground was there, his smile proud and steady. "You did it," he said softly. "I told you being small is not a weakness, it's your secret strength." Lyra's eyes sparkled. For the first time, she felt more than hope. She felt belief in herself, in her humanity, and in the power of perseverance. The aliens had doubted her, laughed at her, and tried to push her down. But she had risen. She had proven that size and strength were not the only measures of greatness. And deep in her heart, Lyra knew that this was only the beginning. The challenge had shown her potential, but more importantly, it had shown the universe that the small Earth girl was not someone to be ignored. For the first time, she felt the thrill of possibility, the electric pulse of change. She had faced her first test, and she had survived. The great challenge had reached its final stage. The arena, once filled with laughter and whispers, now held a tense silence. Every eye was on Lyra, the small human girl who had already surprised everyone. She had passed the agility and intelligence tests and had climbed the tallest wall, something no human had ever done. The crowd, which had once laughed at her, now watched in disbelief. Her next challenge was the final trial, a combination of speed, strategy, and courage. The aliens lined up beside her, towering and strong, confident in their power. They smirked as they looked at Lyra. "She will fall," one whispered. "It is impossible for her to win." Lyra's heart pounded. The weight of doubt pressed on her chest, but she held her silver necklace and closed her eyes for a brief moment. She remembered words, steady and clear. "You are not too small. You are exactly who you need to be." That thought filled her with courage. The final trial began. The competitors had to cross a field of shifting platforms, evade traps, and solve a puzzle at the end, all while racing against time. The larger aliens struggled to balance on the uneven surfaces. Their size, which had always been their strength, now slowed them down. Lyra moved like the wind. She leapt from platform to platform, her small frame allowing her to avoid traps that the bigger aliens could not dodge. When she reached the puzzle, her hands worked quickly, recalling patterns she had studied with. One by one, the puzzle pieces clicked into place. She solved it faster than anyone had imagined. The crowd was silent. No one had expected her to even finish, let alone come this far. Some murmured among themselves, "It cannot be luck. She must be clever." When Lyra reached the finish line, she turned and saw the faces of the aliens. Their expressions had changed, from mockery to surprise, from disbelief to admiration. The council members who had once dismissed her as insignificant now looked at her with respect. You have done the impossible," said one elder, his voice trembling slightly. "We misjudged you." Lyra's chest rose and fell as she caught her breath. She looked around at the crowd, feeling a strange mix of pride and relief. But even more than the applause or recognition, she felt steady presence beside her. He smiled warmly, his eyes full of pride and belief. "You see," he said softly, "you are more than they ever imagined. You didn't let their doubts stop you. You never gave up. That is what makes you strong." Tears welled up in Lyra's eyes. For months she had been rejected, ignored, and laughed at. But now she was not only seen, she was respected. She realized that her small size, her human nature, her persistence, all of it had led her here. She was different, but that difference was her strength. The alien crowd slowly began to cheer, a mix of astonishment and admiration. "She is remarkable," one whispered. "We judged her too quickly." Another added, "She is human, yet stronger than many of us." Lyra took a deep breath. She felt proud, yes, but also humble. She knew that she had done this not just for herself, but for every human who had ever felt small, weak, or invisible. And in that moment, she realized something even greater, that being chosen by someone who believed in her was more powerful than any award or applause. Squeezed her hand gently. "You have shown them and yourself what being human really means. Courage, heart, and perseverance, that is our strength." Lyra smiled, a bright, unshakable smile. For the first time, she felt completely alive, completely seen. The crowd no longer mattered as much as the knowledge that she had proven her worth, not through size, not through force, but through the strength of her heart and her refusal to give up. The aliens were starting to learn a truth they had never understood. Greatness is not measured by height or power, but by courage, resilience, and heart. And the small human girl, once rejected by all, had become the living proof of it. The arena was quiet now, the excitement of the challenge slowly fading into a calm, warm atmosphere. Lyra stood at the center, her chest still rising and falling from the final trial. Sweat clung to her skin, but her heart was light. She had done it. She had faced impossible odds and survived. And for the first time, the world, or at least this alien world, saw her. The alien council approached her cautiously, their faces serious but softer than before. The tallest elder with eyes like molten gold stepped forward. "You have shown courage beyond what we expected," he said, his voice resonating across the arena. "We misjudged you. You are not weak. You are extraordinary." Lyra's lips trembled and a small, shy smile appeared. She had been rejected so many times, had been laughed at and ignored, that this recognition felt almost unreal. Her eyes flicked to, who stood a few steps away, smiling proudly, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. He had believed in her from the beginning. "You see," whispered as if reading her thoughts, "they finally understand. You've shown them who you really are." Lyra took a deep breath. I never wanted their approval," she admitted softly. I wanted someone to see me, someone to believe in me." His hand squeezed hers gently. "And someone did. I did. And now they are beginning to see too. You've earned this, Lyra, every bit of it." The council continued, offering her a token, a glowing crystal, a symbol of honor in their culture. They no longer saw her as just a human girl, small and fragile. They saw her as someone with spirit, intelligence, and courage that surpassed even the strongest of their own kind. The whispers in the crowd turned to applause, hesitant at first, then growing louder. Even those who had doubted her now bowed their heads in respect. Lyra's heart swelled with a mixture of pride, relief, and joy. For months, she had walked through this alien world feeling invisible, rejected, and unimportant. But now she stood as proof that strength could come in many forms. She realized that being human, small, fragile, and underestimated had never been a weakness. It had been her greatest power. As the crowd slowly dispersed, Lyra stepped away from the arena. The city stretched out before them, shimmering under the light of the twin moons, looked at her, eyes soft and warm. "You did it, not just for them, but for yourself. And you've shown me, too, the strength of your heart." Lyra smiled, her silver necklace catching the moonlight. "I couldn't have done it without you," she admitted. You chose to see me when no one else did. You believed in me." Gently lifted her hand to his lips. "I didn't choose you because of size or strength," he said. "I chose you because of who you are, your heart, your courage, your spirit. That's what matters. That's what makes you extraordinary." A quiet warmth filled Lyra's chest. For the first time since arriving on this alien world, she felt completely understood, completely accepted. The months of loneliness, fear, and rejection seemed to melt away in the glow of belief in her. She realized that sometimes, being chosen by the right person could be more powerful than all the recognition in the universe. They walked together through the glowing streets, talking softly about their experiences, laughing quietly at small, shared jokes. Lyra felt light, unburdened, and alive. She had discovered a truth that no alien or challenge could ever take away, that courage, heart, and resilience define true strength. And as the twin moons rose higher in the sky, Lyra knew that her journey had only just begun. She had been rejected by all, ignored by many, and doubted by everyone until a human chose her. And in being chosen, she had found more than recognition. She had found hope, belonging, and love. For the small Earth girl, the impossible had become reality. She had been seen, she had been understood, and she had finally discovered the extraordinary power of being human. The twin moons hung high in the sky, casting a gentle silver light over the alien city. Lyra stood on the hill overlooking the glowing towers, the same hill where she had once sat alone, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. But tonight was different. She was no longer the small, lonely human girl who felt invisible. She was chosen, she was seen, she was strong. Stood beside her, tall and steady, his hand lightly holding hers. He looked down at her, eyes full of pride and warmth. "Do you see?" he asked softly. "You've changed everything, not just for yourself, but for everyone who doubted you." Lyra smiled, the wind brushing her hair back. She thought of all the times she had been rejected, the laughs, the dismissals, the endless feeling of being too small to matter. And yet she had survived. She had kept hope alive when no one else did. And now here she was, standing on the edge of a world that had once ignored her and knowing she belonged. The aliens who had once mocked her now bowed respectfully as she walked through the city. Some approached her cautiously, curious about the human who had done the impossible. "We judged you too soon," one admitted. "You have a courage we could not imagine." Another whispered, "You are extraordinary." Lyra nodded politely, a quiet pride rising within her. She no longer needed their approval. Their recognition was a bonus, not her reason to exist. Squeezed her hand gently. "Do you know what they've learned?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "That greatness isn't measured by size or power. It's measured by courage, persistence, and heart. And you've shown them what it means to be human." Lyra's chest swelled. Humans had always been underestimated on this world, dismissed as small and weak. Yet here she was, proof that the human spirit could shine brighter than any alien strength or ability. And it wasn't just about proving others wrong, it was about proving herself right, about believing in herself even when no one else did. She looked at and her eyes sparkled. "You believed in me when no one else did," she said softly. That made all the difference." Smiled, "I didn't choose you because of what you could do or how strong you were. I chose you because of who you are. Your heart, your courage, your determination, that is what makes you extraordinary." Lyra felt warmth spread through her chest, a quiet fire that had grown from months of struggle and loneliness. For the first time, she felt truly whole. Not because the aliens respected her, not because she had won a contest, but because she had found someone who believed in her, and because she had never given up on herself. The city below shimmered with lights, alien voices echoing softly in the distance, the twin moons casting silver reflections on the towers. But Lyra no longer felt small among them. She felt seen, valued, and alive. She had become a symbol not just of human courage, but of the power of hope, resilience, and determination. She whispered to the stars above, "I am human. I am small, but I am not invisible. I am enough." Placed his hand on her shoulder, his smile steady. "And you will always have me, always. No matter where life takes us, you are not alone." Lyra looked at him, at the city, and at the alien world that had once rejected her. She felt a fire inside her, a fire that could not be quenched. Humanity had taught her one thing: no matter how impossible the odds, no matter how lonely the journey, courage and heart can overcome anything. The small Earth girl who had been rejected by all had finally been chosen. And in being chosen, she had found her place, her strength, and her future. The universe had seen the extraordinary power of humanity in one small, persistent heart. Lyra took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill her lungs. She smiled, stepping forward with by her side, ready for whatever adventures awaited. For the first time, she truly knew she belonged. She was human, and that was more than enough. The moons shone brightly above, a silent witness to her triumph, a reminder to the universe that courage, heart, and determination could change everything. The end.